After hearing the ominous voice, the howling wind inside the house grew louder, as if the walls themselves were screaming. Kareem tried to close the book, but it seemed glued to the table. Meanwhile, Noura noticed the symbols on the walls starting to change, pulsating as if alive. "We need to leave now," Layla screamed as she ran toward the door. But as soon as she placed her hand on the handle, the door slammed shut with a forceful thud, as if an invisible hand had pushed it. The three realized something sinister wanted to keep them inside. At that moment, the sound of a child crying echoed from the upstairs floor. It was a sorrowful, haunting cry filled with pain and despair. Noura and Kareem exchanged nervous glances before Noura whispered, "We can't just ignore this. We need to find out what's going on." They cautiously climbed the creaky wooden staircase, each step groaning under their weight, as though warning them not to proceed. At the top, they found a long hallway lined with closed doors. At the end of the hall, one door stood slightly ajar, with a faint light spilling out. They approached the open door slowly, and the closer they got, the louder the crying became. When they stepped inside, the crying stopped abruptly. The room was empty except for a small bed covered with an old red blanket. The walls were painted with children's drawings, but they looked distorted. Suddenly, Layla let out a car-piercing scream, pointing to a corner of the room. There, a shadowy figure resembling a child stood motionless, its features obscured. Its eyes were dark voids, staring directly at them. "Why have you come here?" The voice boomed again, this time coming from the shadow. Kareem, his voice trembling, managed to ask, "Who are you? What do you want from us?" The shadow responded in a chilling tone, "You have awakened what was sleeping. Now you are trapped here, just as I am." Before they could react, the floor began to tremble, and pictures of children hanging on the walls fell to the ground. A massive black hand emerged from under the bed and pulled Kareem into the darkness. Noura tried to grab him, but the hand vanished with him, leaving only the echo of his scream behind. "We need to get out of here," Layla cried, but Noura was resolute. "I won't leave without Kareem. We have to find a way to stop this." Desperately scanning the room, Noura's eyes fell on a painting of a family hanging on the wall. The faces of the family members were scratched out with red marks, and beneath the painting were the words, "The curse can only be broken with a sacrifice." Layla turned to Noura, panic consuming her. "A sacrifice? What does that even mean?"
Knock, knock. Who's there? You're a nightmare. I've been watching you. I know what you've been doing. You can't hide from me. I'm always here, even when you're asleep.
Noura and Layla were trembling with fear, but Noura was determined to save Kareem. She looked down at the strange book, which now seemed to pulsate with a life of its own. Flipping through its pages, she found a passage that read, "To break the curse, you must face the truth. The sacrifice is not of the body, but of the soul." Layla's voice shook as she asked, "A soul? What does that mean?" At that moment, the mysterious crying returned, but this time it was joined by the sounds of men and women screaming in agony. The room filled with an icy mist as the floor began to crack. Faces started to emerge from the darkness beneath them, twisted in torment. Suddenly, they heard Kareem's voice from downstairs. "Noura! Layla! Help me!" They raced toward the sound, only to find themselves in a large room they hadn't seen before. The walls were covered in mirrors, and in the center, Kareem was suspended in midair, surrounded by a thick, black fog. As Nura tried to approach him, a deep voice spoke from behind her. "If you go any closer, you'll join him." She turned to find an old man with distorted features and tattered clothing standing in the corner. He seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. "You've trespassed into my domain," he said calmly, though his voice was laced with menace. "This house isn't just a place. It's a trap for curious souls." Nura, her voice filled with anger, demanded, "What do you want from us? Let Kareem go." The old man smiled darkly. "Your friend is now part of the curse, but he can be saved if you're willing to make a sacrifice." Layla stepped back, panic overtaking her. "No, this is insane. We just need to leave." But Nura wasn't ready to leave Kareem behind. She looked the old man in the eye and asked, "What kind of sacrifice?" The man grinned wickedly. "You must choose, your soul or your friends. One of you will stay here forever." Both women froze in horror. Layla screamed, "No, this is madness. I won't let you do this." Before Nura could respond, the room filled with mist. Layla felt a cold hand pull her into the shadows, and her terrified scream echoed through the air. Nura looked back at the book, and new words appeared on its pages. "Sacrifice is not the only way. Show your courage." Realizing what she had to do, Nura stepped closer to Kareem, ignoring the old man's warnings. She grabbed his hand firmly and closed her eyes, repeating the words from the book, "Release us. We do not belong to you." The room began to shake violently, and the old man let out an enraged scream. "No, you can't break the curse this way." But Nura continued chanting, holding on to Kareem with all her strength. Suddenly, a blinding light filled the room, and everything went silent. When Nura woke up, she found herself lying on the grass outside the house. Kareem and Layla were beside her, dazed but unharmed. Behind them, the house crumbled slowly, as if disappearing into nothingness. The three exchanged silent, stunned glances. They knew something far beyond their understanding had just ended. As they walked away, Nura felt a strange weight in her bag. When she opened it, she found the mysterious book, as though it had chosen to follow her. "Is it really over?" she wondered, holding the book cautiously.